SEC Chairman Francis Lim vows to double down on investor education, protection, and financial literacy in response to an increasingly complex and scam-prone investment landscape. His remarks at the recent Sharefield event also took on timely urgency as he announced the start of a fact-finding investigation into Villar Land's high-profile valuation and market activities. With us now for more is the president of BDO Capital Corporation, Ed Francisco. He's also vice chair of Sharefield and the president of the Capital Markets Development Foundation, Inc. So good to see you again, Ed. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, so we sure talked a lot about the capital markets that day when we were on stage with Chair Lim at the Sharefield event. But there was this one takeaway that got my attention. After everything we talked about, he went to the basic and said, you got to help us with financial literacy and upping investor education and protection. As part of the capital markets ecosystem, what would you commit to do? As part of Sharefield, as part of the Capital Markets Development Foundation, and as BDO Capital President to help him do the job?
Sure. Several fronts from my perspective. One is the education side. Even all our investors, we have all these questionnaires. We make sure we understand what they're buying. No? That's already once you're ready to invest. But also, as part of Sharefield, we're coming out with some educational programs. We'd love to work more with the BSP, the Trust Associations of the Philippines, the Bankers Association, to educate people. I think Chair Francis was also wanted to include it in the curriculum. So if there's a way we can help with the DepEd to provide some information or prepare classes, we'll love to do that. Yeah.
Okay. You know, after the forum, there was a press conference, and he did make a mention of Haven, Golden Haven, which is now called Villar Land, and he did cite that he would start up a fact-finding investigation on the firm, still suspended at the PSC since April or May. What do you make of that move?
Right. Now, I think there's people who were curious or wanted to understand the valuation of Haven now, the Villar Holdings. So it's good to understand it anyway. I understand because at least during that conference, I did ask Roel Refran, the Chief Operating Officer of the PSC, the status, and I understand it is suspended, but only because they're waiting for the audited financials. So let's wait for the results of what the SEC finds. But at least what I understand is they're just waiting for the valuation report from the appraisal, and then the auditor should sign that. And then once they file that, that will give the information. But I think I've also said before, I spoke to the CFO of the group, Brian Hedang, because I work with them a lot also. They have disclosed anyway, and they're not hiding it, that the valuation improvement or the 1 trillion, I think, income that they booked was really from the valuation gains of Villar City, because Golden Haven, the new company now, has around, I think, 2,000 hectares. Another 1,000 hectares, I think, are in Vista Land. So various properties. So that's the appraisal increment.
All right. At the fireside chat, it was also interesting that you made a mention of Kalata.
Yes.
It's been in the news since 2016, so that goes 9 years back. But then you cite this as an example of what not to do in the markets because the court had said that they've been accused and convicted of market manipulation. What exactly can we take from the Kalata lessons in the way of investor education and protection?
Yeah, of course, in terms of education, we really have to provide more information on who the investors are, who the investee companies are. We want also, I guess, the brokers, even the PSE, to be more vigilant on the trading. Because what the sad thing there is the people who who lost a lot of money in the Kalata, even if Kalata lost in the courts, they made billions of money in money, and then the damages is so punitive, so it seems so unfair, and then nothing has really come back to the investors. So those are the things we want to fix, and that's why also in that same forum I was asking, maybe even in terms of delistings, because people get stuck and they're not able to sell. at least Chair Francis is willing to fix something there to give a chance for people to get out and sell at the market.
Especially the small investors,
Yes,
because
small
they're the ones who
investors.
lost a lot in that
Yes.
huge issue there.
Yes, yes. The small investors are usually left behind because, rightly or wrongly, the big investors are sophisticated. They can make their calls earlier, and they have pull to do that. Sometimes the small investors are not tracking it, and then they just find out na lang, uy, delisted na, and then they're stuck.
Yeah, so when the Finance Secretary Recto says that he's mulling, along with the government, to start listing the online gaming firms that we've so talked about over the past few weeks and months because of it being a vice, what is the position of the capital markets on it?
Okay. I also wrote an article a few weeks back with a colleague, but in a way, it's a compromise. No? Yes, in a way, we want to prevent it, but we also want to manage it. Because I've spoken to an owner of an online gambling. He said, anyway, there's so much happening still, and then it's better that it's policed, or at least it's there's stricter rules. So I also agree with that. I've seen the draft circular of the BSP. You have to have a separate account. It cannot be in the app of GCash also. I mean, GCash also has come out and is willing to make adjustments, which I appreciate. And then you can only invest 1/6 of your amount, I think. It can't be on the app itself. It's a different app. So it makes it harder. And then as SecDecGo also mentioned, if they have age requirements, I think that will do well because we don't want the poorest of the poor really betting their life savings on this. No? But at least those who are willing to really want to do it more, as they have extra money to spend. Why not? Let's do that. Now, in addition to Plus, if Sec Recto is saying let's list the other firms, if these are legitimate, we can look at it in a way also because when you look at crypto in a way is like also gambling because we really don't really understand what's the basis there. If the PSE has almost 2 million account holders, crypto is probably 3 times the amount. So it shows you also that the Filipinos have this penchant for trying something innovative or be willing to risk more. So by legitimizing the other online gaming and listing it, it will give us a chance to invest also. And then at least it can be policed.
All right, well, SEPA, it's been there for a month. What impact has it had on the trading volumes? I've seen trading volumes go up, but just for a week. But how has it done in encouraging a lot of the retail investors to come out and invest in the stock, and not only stock, but the bond markets as well?
Yeah. In terms of the stock market, admittedly, it's reduced the stock transaction tax. I think it's still too early. We will have to wait for the volumes to increase further. Because frankly, in the last few weeks, the largest traded stock has been DigiPlus. Because everybody, it's been swinging up and down, of course, because people are watching. But we want to see it normalize, and then we'll see what the activity is. In terms of the bonds anyway, if there's just been some confusion, I'm glad that the DOF has clarified that the 20% has always been there. It's really just for the long-term deposits over 5 years that have been reduced. And of course, for foreign currency, it's been made the same. I agree with anyway because you want to have a level playing field. So what's happened anyway, at least the bond activities, I just had a recent closing for Philinvest, and then we also had other activities. The bonds have been really oversubscribed. There's so much demand still for bonds in the Philippines.
So how long before we get to see a sustained sort of participation? I mean, what's keeping investors though? Is it maybe apathy or the lack of knowledge on how to actually get into the markets?
Okay. At least in the bonds, Kathy, because in fact we are currently doing the retail treasury bonds. So I was also in Lucena, I think last week, and it was very well, I guess, attended. That is oversubscribed. National Treasurer Sharon Almanza was telling me that she has a healthy problem in that she has to cut down. So that would be a blockbuster. Even in terms of the corporate bonds, we are issued more now than we have in the previous year. I think this is the largest. So the bond side is strong. It's the equity markets that are weak, still weak. So that's where I think it's not the Philippines, but we need foreign investors to look more into us, aside from what you reported, FDIs. We want them to come in and look at the Philippines as an investment, short-term and long-term.
What do you think is keeping them from coming in then?
Part of it also is what's happening globally, because there's so much noise, and it's sad because the Philippines is a small investment portfolio, even in the Morgan Stanley indices and everything. So when they have a problem abroad, they just say cut your exposure abroad. Even if it's doing well, we get hit because we're so small. We're easy to be disposed of. That's the thing. So we really have to do a bigger, I guess, starting from the president, selling the Philippines, so there'll be more investments here.
And taking it from the public governance perspective, the budget for 2026 is going to be submitted tomorrow by the Department of Budget to Congress. What would investors like to see in the way of, first, open governance, and next, budget transparency?
Yeah, no, I guess from the investor's perspective, we like what we see anyway from the economic managers, no? But there's always been this question, and especially in the SONA when the president talked about the contractors. Nowadays, in my MAP forums or my Viber chats, I'm very active in that. Everybody is, complaining about the contractors, about the lagay at the LGU level. So that's the thing that's really hard to manage. Even if you reduce the red tape, but the corruption there is so high, and that's why I think tomorrow we're having in the MAP, our speaker will be Ben Magalong. So I'd love to listen to him more. But that is the one that is tainting the Philippines more. So the transparency there and the feeling that there's so much leakage in the budget. If that can be addressed and there's been more effort there, I think that will improve the standing of the Philippines also.
And also starts with public governance and people really speaking out, civil society helping out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ed Francisco of
Thank you,
BDO
Kat.
Capital joining us.